Okay, it's a pleasure to have these two gentlemen here on stage in this masterclass. Young distributors, young producers, they founded their own company in 2008. Please interrupt if I say something wrong. It's called DCM. DCM stands for the first letters of their names. Actually, Dario is the D. C is the Christoph, he's not here. M is Mark, he's not here. And this is Joel. So now you figure out there's one letter missing.
With so many letters, there was some confusion.
Yeah, there was some confusion. And he came a little bit later, right, to the company. So that's why his first letter is missing in DCM. And DCM has reached a level in such a quick time that there's no chance actually to change that name again, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. No, we wouldn't want to.
Yeah. So, okay, this is Dario Suter. He studied economics in St. Gallen at the university, and he started with internet companies, Studi TV, it's called, or Studi SV. No,
StudiVZ.
VZ, yeah. Right. And that's what he was working on. And then he founded with all his friends the DCM. And Joel Brandeis, he studied in law in
Zurich and the US. Yeah.
And US, and had a Master of Law with focus on entertainment law. So he's the right person to sell pictures or movies or whatever knows about it. So that's a little bit the story of DCM. We decided when we had a coffee yesterday that we will focus on that one film you're actually distributing at the moment, which is Liberace. And maybe you tell us a little bit about how it all started with this Liberace film.
Well, I guess first we have to say today is a very special day for us sitting here because October 3rd is not only the national holiday of Germany, it's also our release date for Liberace in Germany, so we're very excited to see, or to be getting the first numbers of the afternoon and like early evening screenings. So we figured it makes sense to just tell the story a little bit, and in order to start, it's actually quite fitting that we're sitting here because the way we got the film, Liberace, has a lot to do with the Zurich Film Festival as well. And so if we flash back to May 2013 in Cannes, early press screening, 8:30 in the morning, was kind of, I guess you all know it, after a few days of festival, you're not that fresh in the morning, and seeing the Soderbergh film announced behind the candelabra with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon, we were very excited to be just, watching the film in competition and just relax and sit there. And I mean, the story promised great things, seeing on screen sort of how Gordon Gekko makes out with Jason Bourne. You don't get to see that every day. So yeah, that promised for an entertaining morning, and we sat there, and the film started, and the longer the film sort of told the story, we were just really blown away. And we got out of the film, and we had to sit down and have a coffee and discuss the film because we didn't expect that story. We didn't know really who Liberace was. And after seeing that really touching, emotional story, that love story, we sat at a cafe and later at a restaurant and had lunch. And we said, well, we have to figure out what the story behind the film, behind that film is, and who is going to distribute it. Because all we knew was that HBO, pay TV station, had financed the film, but we didn't know what the release plans were. And so we were sitting at a restaurant in Cannes at the Croisette discussing the film, and then Karl Sperry came by, director of the Zurich Film Festival. And he stepped by and he was like, well, what are you guys up to? And we're like, well, we just came out of the press screening of Behind the Candelabra. He was like, well, I'm just on my way to the producer, Jerry Weintraub. I'm going to have lunch with him. We're like, Jerry Weintraub had been a guest at the festival the year before. And so we said, well, Carl, please talk to Jerry. We're very interested in the film. And Carl said, well, I think the German-speaking rights are still available. And so, yeah, that was kind of the start. We were very excited, and we said to Carl, well, please let us know what the outcome is of the lunch. And Carl called us, made the introduction to HBO, and then began a very long series of phone calls. Yeah.
So that's sort of the brief, the first getting to know this film. Maybe we have a look at the trailer,
Absolutely.
and then we all know what we're talking about, and get an impression. I don't know if everybody's seen it so far.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of the show,
My friend Scott Thorson. You were incredible.
I love to give people a good time. Alone at last. I have a great idea. Why don't you come work for me?
As what?
I need a companion, someone I can talk to. Do you even like this man?
Yeah, I really do.
Well, look who's up. I call this palatial kitchen. This is my houseboy who moves the roost around here. I want to be everything to you, Scott. Father, brother, lover. I want to do some surgery on Scott. I want him to look like this. Sleep tight, my baby boy.
This is the kind of life you want for yourself?
You're cute. You are very cute.
Stop.
Please, please don't be unhappy. I can't stand it when you have a face like that. Especially after the money I paid for it. It's not bad for an old bag, huh? Oh, Daddy. I'm so sorry. I'm so informal. Will I be able to close my eyes?
Not entirely.
Please. What a story. I mean, you got everything but a fire in the orphanage.
So we'll see this film tonight at 6:30, I think, at the Le Paris. I hope you got your tickets for tonight. Dario Suter, before we talk about the distribution strategy, the concept of distributing a film like this, we would like to maybe fill in the blanks, or maybe people don't know exactly. DCM was founded as a production company in 2008, and
Yes.
then also became a distribution company. Maybe you can tell us a little bit why.
Actually, when we started DCM, we had no real idea how the film business works. We were convinced that once you produce a great movie, this is all it needs to become successful in the movie business. We did our first movie called Ceasefire, Waffenstillstand. We won a lot of prizes, among them the Audience Award in 2009 here at the Zurich Film Festival. And we were convinced that there was nothing that is going to stop the success of this movie, at least in the German-speaking territories. Well, there was one thing, because it needs also a distribution company to make a movie successful. Something we didn't really know when we got started. Unfortunately, in 2010, early 2010, when we released the movie, there was no film distribution company in Germany or in Switzerland available who would still do a strong marketing for a movie that was focusing the Iraq War. There were some very famous Hollywood productions addressing a similar topic, the Iraq War, and they all failed. So distribution companies were convinced, oh my God, people don't want to see anymore the Iraq War on the big screen. They already had it in the TV news for for too many times. So we had a very small distribution company who did a very bad release of our first movie, and so far this was the biggest disappointment.
Why was it so bad? Why was it so bad, the distribution? What's a bad distribution? Because they should watch out, you know, for bad distribution.
Absolutely, you should.
Beware.
Be aware of it.
And at lunch I will tell you the name of this distribution company. No, they just didn't spend any money on marketing. They did a very, very limited release. Actually, I think just 15 copies in Germany. So the minimum that was asked by federal law to get the
subsidies. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a big competition every week among different movies, and if you don't do your marketing properly, you're just drowning. And that was what's happened with Ceasefire. And after this experience, we were convinced, okay, one time it's okay, but we have to learn out of this experience, and we were convinced to stay in the movie business, but we knew we not only would need a production company, but also a distribution company, so that this would never happen again.
And so you founded a distribution company?
Yeah, actually, there were two possibilities: to found a distribution company or to take over an existing distribution company. We did the second thing because there was a quite famous independent distribution company called Delphi at this time in Berlin, who was in financial troubles and needed a new investor.
And started with a D, and that's sort of fit.
That was a good omen already, and that gave us the chance to take over the company and to work with a very experienced and very good team, and that's how we got into the distribution business, starting in 2011.
Okay, thank you for filling us in the history of DCM distribution. Now we go back to Liberace. So that was the moment we were in Cannes. Joel was telling about Karl Spörri. I mean, you knew Karl Spörri because you had Waffenstillstand here at the festival. So I guess you were
Absolutely,
at the master class.
I mean, so
it's
festival.
Networking.
Yeah.
Listen, networking. and you happened to meet him at the restaurant, and he sort of made the link to the producer of the film.
It was what we call the magic Cannes moments. And they do exist, yeah.
Okay.
And, now we experience them ourselves.
So from then on, I mean, you said you made a lot of phone calls. We would like to go step by step how to distribute such a film. So the next step, I mean, then the money comes in, I guess.
Well, yeah, the first...
discussion about how much does it cost?
I guess the first step is, finding a deal. And
how do you do that?
that was, well, basically, you have to make an offer. Obviously, you're competing against all your colleagues who might have seen the film as well. And it's a sort of classical market situation where the person selling the film says, well, I've received so many offers and they're so high, and but I would really like to go with you guys, and you have to up your offers, etc., etc. So this is why I said a very long series of phone calls. Although I have to say for this film, it was kind of different because we saw the film in a press screening, and it wasn't an official buyer screening, which was scheduled only for 2 days later. So we were, in a sense, very early on. And it wasn't very clear, as I said before, what the situation was of the film. Are the rights still available? Because it was just a filming competition in Cannes, and nobody really knew because HBO produced it, and that was that. So we were, I guess, one of the first ones to contact HBO. And Charles Schrager, head of sales at HBO there, first kind of was surprised that, you know, 4 young guys...
Have not heard of DCM yet.
Exactly. And I guess it was kind of surprising, was like, where are you guys? And he had to make a few calls to Germany to make sure that we're actually serious people, and that he could trust us. And so yeah, it was important for us. We said we really feel like we'd be the right ones to distribute this film. And yeah, then I guess we... After a few phone calls, he said, well, okay, let's make this deal. And it's a handshake deal. that's that's all we can do here in Cannes. The buyer screening is scheduled for, you know, in 24 hours. I can't cancel that, but you're just gonna have to trust me that I'm not gonna sell the film, and I'm gonna have to trust you guys that you're actually gonna take the film and distribute it. So this is what we did.
You said you were new to the business. How do you know, I mean, how much you pay for a film like this, for the distribution rights? I mean, it's more or less like, it's always like this a little bit. Or,
lucky guessing.
I mean, that you don't overpay it, that you don't, I mean, of course, if you don't offer enough money, you probably don't get it. So how do you sort of find that out? Just, I mean, to get an idea.
Well, I guess there's no right or wrong. It's the first basis, obviously, is always just an estimate of sort of what this film could do in the territory that you're looking at. And so, I mean,
what were you estimating?
That's always a very healthy discussion. So that's the good part. No, for us, we're the four of us, so we always make the decisions together. And this is sort of. There's always one person driving a project, sort of, or really sort of trying to get a project done, and so it's always a good discussion, and you always get different angles, and at the end of the day, it's a calculation. Yeah, you estimate the number of admissions that you're going to make in theater.
What do you think you're going to make in Switzerland with this film?
Marketing.
Our head of distribution is here. Stephanie, what do you think? How many emissions are we going to make in Switzerland? 50 to 60,000.
So that was sort of the base you were counting or making your numbers on it.
In Germany, 300 to 400,000 emissions. These were our numbers.
I have a good question.
Hopefully.
Yeah, right now the box office is really low in theaters in Germany and Switzerland. So what do you think about the situation right now? I mean, it's kind of high season for all the movies coming out like since early September, but nothing is really doing that well. So what are your thoughts on that and on your release date as well?
A very strong belief that it's going to change from tonight on. No, to be serious, this always happens in the industry, and we saw the same patterns the years before. September was always weak, also in 2012, also in 2011, and we hope that we're competing against two very strong movies in Germany, Gravity and Rush, and we hope that this actually will help to keep or bring back the general focus to the movie theater scene, and we're not afraid of this. This always happens, and hopefully, and we're convinced about this, also the opposite will happen again. Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe it's a very un-Swiss thing to ask, but since you're on the business end, could you say some figures? It would be very interesting, because admissions we can always look up at the internet. And this is one thing. And the other question is some models of distribution contracts with the producers, also business-wise. So do you buy the rights, or do you buy... does he have a share, and how do you calculate the share, and do you put in the marketing budget in this share or not? So this would interest me.
Well, there's no like real one answer to that. For the first questions regarding the figures, I would love to tell you, but unfortunately HBO, they have good lawyers, and we are sworn to secrecy, so we're not allowed to say any actual numbers. And but in general, I guess it varies from like no minimum guarantee payments to where you say you have a corridor, so a participation of the licensor from very early on, or from the first certain dollar or euro, Swiss francs that comes in, and up to a minimum guarantee payment where sort of you recoup that sort of minimum guarantee and also the P&A. And after that, once you're recouped, there is a split. It's a great deal of negotiation. There's no like one magical split. So it really varies on the film, on the type of film, on the genre, on what the expectation is on both ends, how the film is going to perform. So yeah, there's no real one answer to that.
But the question always is, I think producers try to keep as many rights as possible to themselves. Distributors would like to have the whole bouquet of distribution rights. How does that work? What kind of strategy do you have with your films?
Well, it goes to the exploitation of all steps.
I think since we're doing a theatrical release on the first step, we see this as the strongest thing you can do for marketing-wise for a movie. So it's our belief that it's only fair that we also participate, that we are also participating at the next steps of the distribution chain, meaning home entertainment, pay TV, free TV. So that's actually our.
So you try anytime you try to get the whole package
exactly,
as possible.
But as you said, it has to be a fair deal on both sides. Mm-hmm. We want to do the best for our movies and not just do an alibi distribution, but actually try to take the best out of every movie that we can. And we're a small independent distributor, so we only do 6 to 8 movies a year, and that gives us enough time and passion to concentrate and to focus on every single one and make sure they have a proper theatrical release, and hopefully this will help each movie at the next step of the distribution chain.
I think.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's not only a financial sort of aspect why we want to have all rights. I mean, the license agreements are done for 12 years upwards. And so I guess there's an aspect of trust on both sides, on the licensor side, that we're not just going to drop the picture after 1 year and say, well, this is that. We've put it in theaters and we don't care about it anymore. And for us, it's always a very personal decision that we want to distribute a film. And we're very enthusiastic about the films that we're bringing to the audience. So it's important for us as well to do that on a long-term level. And I guess like a good example is we just did a sort of release premiere for the DVD home entertainment release of Quartet, which is not usually done, but for us it was a great match of sort of presenting that film or the home entertainment release with a classical concert.
Film directed by Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, exactly. Which we co-produced, and so this is an example of where we try to sort of differentiate ourselves as well from other distributors. Maybe we do it with passion and with love and enthusiasm.
And we also know the other side. I think that's something that differentiates us, because we were once in the position where our movie was dying, and there was not much that we could do against it, and so we feel obliged to never let this happen to a movie that was given to us. Also in the respect, by the way, of the creative work that is behind it. Mm-hmm.
So before we talk about all the details how to distribute film, on the example of Liberace, maybe some questions again to legal aspects or to contracts?
The question is actually, you were presenting now an I don't know, big budget movie from Hollywood that you distributed. Do you also distribute European movies or Swiss-German movies? And what's the difference in marketing? And
we'll talk about this later on.
But a clear yes to this, and we also have a trailer here of the next movie we're doing after Liberace. It's a German movie called Eltern, Parents.
Yeah, we talk about this definitely. Okay, so let's have a look at Liberace again. I mean, you got the rights, you got the distribution rights, and then you have to come up with a strategy.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. What's a good strategy for film marketing?
Good strategy. Well, first of all, it's always a gift if you can find out what's your core audience of a movie.
Excuse me?
To address it.
No.
And in this case, it was clear there was an amazing thing happening in Cannes. It was the big comeback of Michael Douglas. He was very sick before, he was suffering cancer, and people were just amazed by his comeback. I mean, an A-list Hollywood star that we all know as Gordon Gekko and all these different roles, Basic Instinct, comes back as Liberace. And it was clear that this would give us a lot of media attention, and that was the first thing we wanted to be sure to bring it on the agenda of the German media. So what we first did was to make sure this superstar, Michael Douglas, comes to Germany, and we organized a very special premiere for him and for the movie, and of course for the audience.
Was it difficult to convince him to come?
It's always difficult to convince such a big,
does it cost
such a big star. It doesn't, no. In this case, he was at the French Film Festival in Deauville, and we were asking him if he would stop by in Berlin after Deauville, and it didn't cost us anything, but we had to organize, of course, his trip. And this is also a big luck that that can happen. You have a big star that loves his movie and is ready to promote it. I was talking about the premiere. I think we brought a clip of our premiere in Berlin to you, so you have an idea of what we did there, and then we'll speak more about what else we were doing.
We can have a look at it as well down here.
Liberace ist ein ganz besonderer Film, der eine besondere Location verdient. Und wir fanden, dieses wunderschöne alte Theater kommt dem sehr entgegen. Er hat jetzt, muss man sagen, durch die Rolle als Liberace sich durchaus ein bisschen neu erfunden. Und das ist auch das, was uns so unglaublich begeistert hat in diesem Film.
Ich glaube, die Rolle habe ich von ihm noch nicht gesehen. Das ist das, glaube ich, das Spannende, dass er nicht nur wiederholt.
Liberace is sort of the beginning of my third act.
Super, also ich gönn's ihm und ich freue mich wirklich, dass er das auch gemacht hat. Er spielt es wirklich ganz großartig und der ganze Film ist einfach wirklich hervorragend.
Er ist so ein variabler Schauspieler und das macht ja auch solchen Schauspielern große Freude, mal etwas zu spielen, was ganz außerhalb ihres Charakters liegt. Das ist ja der Herausforderung.
Ich bin sicher, dass es keinen besseren hätte geben können für diese Rolle.
Two-time Oscar winner, Michael Douglas. We are excited and deeply honored to have you here with us in Berlin tonight, and thank you for sharing this moment with us.
I think this is for me. I mean, I could look at Matt and say, Matt, did you read the script?
What did he say?
And he said, yes, I did. And I said, so what flavor lip gloss do you like? I wanted to thank DCM, who is distributing this picture in Switzerland and Germany, for the effort that they've done, and thank you everybody so much for coming tonight. This is a movie that means a lot to us, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Ich bin total begeistert und glücklich nach diesem Film, aber auch nach diesem Interview jetzt mit Michael Douglas. Ich fand so unterhaltsam und ja, und ich weiß auch nicht, herzerfrischend.
Ich bin ganz beeindruckt, finde Michael Douglas sowieso großartig, egal was er macht. Und die Würde, die Offenheit, mit der er diese Rolle gestaltet, finde ich sehr, sehr beeindruckend, also sehr warmherzig.
Ich habe mehrfach auch geweint und dieses verzweifelte Ringen um Liebe, das ist der berührende Untertext, die Suche nach Liebe.
Impressed, huh? Well, so
it's also a gift if you have a star like Michael Douglas who does all of this and who is in such great mood and does a lot of interviews, telling the same stories again and again, and
not showing that he's told it 100 million times.
Exactly. I mean, we heard these stories so many times before that he was telling on stage during the day when he was doing interviews, and yeah, it's the greatest thing that can happen if you offer this to a star, but if you get all of this back from him, and marketing-wise, this is a gift, of course. And on a personal level, of course. Too.
You were telling me yesterday that the moment when you picked him up at the airport.
That was an interesting moment. He was at Michael Douglas was at the Deauville Festival before, and the only message we got was very enthusiastic screening, a great reception, and an amazing party. So we knew that the night before had been a lot of drinking and partying, celebrating the film, and when we picked him up with our sponsored Rolls-Royce, Liberace style of course, we drove to the private sort of tarmac of Schönefeld, and we waited for him to come out of his private plane, and that moment is always a bit of a black box because you never really know who's going to come out of the plane. I mean, you know so much about the actor, Michael Douglas, or such a superstar, but who that person is really on a personal level when he gets out, you never really know. And you hear all these crazy stories of film festivals where, hotel rooms are trashed. And so we were very excited. And when he got out, he had sunglasses and like a baseball cap, and he kind of stumbled out of the plane. And so Dario and myself, we looked at each other, we were like, okay. So we said, hi, very nice to have you here. How was your flight? And he said, well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, we're all just a little hungover from last night. Where's the bathroom? We were standing on the tarmac at the airport, and we're like, well, we're sure there is a bathroom here. And so he stumbled to the bathroom, and that was the first moment when we welcomed him in Berlin. And Dario and myself, we looked at each other and we're kind of scared. But it turns out he's a really nice guy. He was on top of his game, and he just has a fake knee joint. So this is why he couldn't really exit the plane that well. So all good.
Yeah, all good.
So the start was perfect on the 2nd of September. I mean, it must have cost you a fortune to organize this premiere, I could imagine, which is in the budget of the whole picture as well, I guess.
That's something you only can afford because you get back so much media that you could never spend. Like, we got a lot of coverage of the premiere itself. We got a lot of interviews now in the daily newspapers and magazines and TV shows and so on. So that's why you are able to invest such a big amount, yes, you're right, for a premiere, because you get back so much marketing value for this. It's not only because we like to party so much. This party lasted until 6 o'clock in the morning in the basement. That was a lot of fun, but that wouldn't be the right message. That we just do it for our own fun, not at all.
So, yep.
How do you get all the other VIP guests, like Wolfgang Job? Do you pay for that, or how do you do that?
No, we don't pay for that. No, we work together with an agency, of course, that is specialized in events, And it's not that hard. If you have such a wonderful film as Liberace,
you get Job.
And we went to an old theater that's normally not a movie theater. We built that into, so we really tried to create a whole world for this very evening, and then it's not that difficult to convince also big German names to come and show up at the premiere, especially not if you can say Michael Douglas is waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. The film is called Liberace here, but when you saw it in Cannes, it had a different title. How come? I mean, how is this distribution way of changing titles for the different markets? Tell us about it.
Well, it's always very, very important what title do you choose for a movie in your territory. The movie is called Behind the Candelabra, and we were just like, okay, this doesn't make sense if we would translate it into German, hinter dem Kronleuchter, but it also doesn't really make sense to keep the English title because no one understands the meaning of Behind the Candelabra. And so we were brainstorming, and after a lot of brainstorming, we were like, let's take Liberace. Too much of a good thing is wonderful, which was his how do you call this, like his belief.
Claim, yeah.
And we were like, okay, it's easier for people to identify Liberace with Michael Douglas in comparison to a title such as Behind the Candelabra. And yeah, hopefully we did well. I don't know. What do you think of the title? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question because in the English marketing press kit you have over there, it's also called Liberace.
What was that?
Yeah, the English trailers we just saw, it's also called Liberace. I don't get that.
Yeah, we made that.
Ah, okay, you made
That's
that.
the English version of they distribute the film also in English, original English. And so
no, I was just wondering because I didn't know Liberace, and if you don't know it, it's actually maybe as confusing as Behind the Candelabra. But now, since you're getting so much attention, it's actually I think it's doesn't matter if it's called Liberace or Behind the Candelabra because you see that it's a good film and it's presented well. So, that's just my opinion, but I was confused before because I heard of Behind the Candelabra, and I was confused which is the other Michael Douglas film, which is called differently, but that's probably because I read the coverage of Cannes, I don't know.
Yeah. But it's actually a good point that you're raising. We're not marketing the film as a biopic of Liberace because in the German-speaking part, people don't really know who he was. In the US, it makes sense to have the title Behind the Candelabra because obviously the book was called, had the same title, but here nobody really knows that. And so for us, the way we're marketing it is as a great comeback for Michael Douglas, a great role for Matt Damon, next Soderbergh film, and just a beautiful love story.
And is the English too much of a good thing is wonderful also from you? Because that is actually a real good hook, I think.
the translation was created in Berlin. Zu viel ist gut ist wundervoll. Okay. But too much of a good thing is wonderful is part of the movie. It's actually the last sentence in this movie.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah.
Here and here. Maybe you can ask.
I can just. What about the translations? You know, I've heard in Germany it's almost everything from the States is translated to German. People don't want to read subtitles, and a lot of cinemas in Zurich still have the original language. But I've heard it's going to change next 10 years or 20. That people don't want to read anymore. They don't care. Most of the audience just wants to have the story and not language, stories and reading. What do you think? Or is it now easier with DCPs to just change languages? And how do you think it's the future in the language and the original?
Well, that's always part of bringing out a film in Germany. You have to create a dub because over 90% of the versions being shown in Germany are dubbed versions. And I guess that's the demand of the market, and we have to sort of serve the market in order to have our films seen. But it's always very painful for us as well, because when we see the films, we see them as original versions, and we see Michael Douglas in this just glorious voice. And it's sometimes also very tricky creating a dub. I mean, having a speaker sort of play that role as well as Michael Douglas, for instance, is not very easy. And we debated whether we were going to go with the regular Michael Douglas speaker, so like all the A-list or just the big stars, they always have their regular speakers, so the people also know their German or French or Italian voices. And yeah, so after a while we decided to go with that, and we're very happy the way it turned out. But it's always kind of tricky, yeah.
And personally, I'm convinced that we will still have movies with subtitles in certain movie theaters. I hope so, at least.
Yep.
Hello. How do you know that you have to distribute a picture? You know, I think it's a very risky business, and I think you made very good choices so far. How do you know that the four of you, like a team, maybe you have like different opinions and everything, but you look quite like in harmony?
We are, actually. It's actually a matter of personal taste. And this sounds so simple, but it's how we decide about a movie. All of us must like the movie, and we have to see something special, something that we love about the film, because otherwise it will never be possible for us to sell a movie with passion and convince other people to go and buy a ticket for a movie theater or a DVD or whatsoever. It's our personal taste, and I'm very happy that so far we always agree more or less on the movies we picked.
Does it need like a 4-0 vote, or if one wouldn't agree, would that be a reason for not distributing or not working on a title?
Luckily, we haven't had that situation. We've always sort of have been able to convince ourselves, and we've always made the decision unanimously so far. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's never really you have to distribute a picture or not. It's basically if we want to distribute a picture or not. And I mean, for instance, when we decided that we were going to do The Artist, which was sort of one of the first films that we distributed, and which was a huge success for us and a huge sort of or great entry into the market as well. When we bought it in Cannes, that was a crazy story as well. But when we bought it there, it was basically a black and white silent French film. And we felt that there was something special about it, but we had no idea that it was going to be nominated for over 10 Oscars and that was going to win 5 Oscars and that was going to be such a huge success commercially. So at the end of the day, you never really know what the market is going to react or how the market's going to react to the films that you distributed. And for us, it's always just that we're trying to do the best job and trying to translate that enthusiasm that we feel for the films to the audience.
And it's always a question, if you see something special that you at least know it has the potential to gain attention for your movie. A black and white silent movie was something very special. Here we have 2 A-list Hollywood stars who play a gay couple, never seen before in this intensity, and an A-list actor such as Michael Douglas who is celebrating a brilliant comeback. So we knew there is something that at least we could put on our poster and make sure we address the right target groups. And yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, earlier we were already talking about the target group, and you kind of stressed on the big comeback of Michael Douglas. But is there something, like some more thoughts about the target group who should go and watch this movie, like female, male, gays, heteros, I don't know. I just, yeah, I'm
strategy
curious.
In that sense, sort of, yeah.
Maybe I can explain this. We had 3 different media partners, and I think that explains a bit our ideas about it. First of all, yes, of course, we wanted to address the gay community. So we worked together in Germany with the special media publishing house that is focusing on gay and lesbian magazines. The other partner we were working with is called Six, a new TV station, member of the Pro7 family that is focusing only on women, our second target group. And the third partner was Zeit Magazin, so a very broad magazine in Germany for, I would say, higher educated people. And I think that explains the mix of groups we wanted to address in the first step.
And then obviously everybody should go see the film.
Yeah, definitely. It's not limited to any of these target groups, not at all. But it's important to at least have them at the first step, because you can't address the general audience if you don't have a blockbuster. Then you might.
You started, yeah, excuse me.
Oh, sorry, again me. How important are like the film critics for you? Like in case you see a foreign movie somewhere, you really love the picture, you love the actors, you think, oh, I want to do this movie, and then it gets terrible critics in this country. Will you buy it and listen to your instinct, or will you say like, no, critics are terrible and
Rotten Tomato critics.
This never happened for any of our movies. I mean, of course, we're also facing bad critics, but not as... We never had a movie that was, like, in general, bad. No? Did we?
Usually, yeah, no, usually we buy the films before sort of the critics come out, and then it's always a difference between international critics and German-speaking ones, and they can differ very much. But in general, you can say critics don't reflect the audience. There's films that got raving reviews and that just did not perform at all at the box office, and also the other way around, that the reviewers just hated and didn't like it all, and the audience loved it and they went to see it. So you can't really decide based on industry critics. So.
There was a famous example this spring, actually, in Germany, or also in Switzerland, Night Train to Lissabon, Nachtzug nach Lissabon. Terrible critics, great success at the box office, so critics do not always count.
The timing of when you started now with this big event on the 2nd of September due to the fact that Michael Douglas was here. I mean, it was sort of forced maybe on you a little bit. It's 1 month ahead of the release of the film in Germany. The timing might be an important issue. When to start, how to start, and how aggressively to start at a certain point. What is your strategy there?
Well, I think 1 month is the maximum of holding such an event in advance of the release date. We followed this premiere with a lot of previews we did with movie theater chains such as Simply the Best at Cinemax in Germany. We did some previews with other media partners in different cities in Germany. So we tried to keep the word of mouth alive, or actually to let it grow, to increase it. And I think it's not too bad. You shouldn't do the mistake and just start your marketing efforts the day before the movie is released. Such a topic needs a certain time until it develops and until people realize and understand that this movie could be of interest also to them.
Just for a question, what then is your priority list of trailers in TV? What TV stations or Plakate außen? What is the? Do you have a priority list? Because maybe a clip in TV costs as much as like 1,000 signs somewhere. Yeah. How do you do that?
Normally I wish to do everything, but I'm responsible for marketing, so I have to report to my partners, and I'm not allowed to do everything. And we try to do it individually depending on the movie. In this case, we do some TV advertisement, also due to the fact that we got this TV station as a media partner. We do a lot of online advertisement. We had the first trailer premiere on Twitter in Germany. And of course, we do a lot of special interest media advertisement to make sure we reach the gay community. What else did we do? We also have some posters outside, so we try to do the right media mix, and yeah, unfortunately we can't do everything, but we still believe very strongly in print, in the classic.
And spreading the word.
Exactly, and also in billboards and like the classic advertisement tools, not only, but also.
But it really depends on the film as well. I mean, for example, Quartet was an older audience, so there was a lot of print. And you can get very creative if you find the right partners. A smaller documentary film that we did by a very talented American director, Alison Clayman, that was called I Will Way Never Sorry. We distributed in the summer during the football or soccer championship. And so we did a big cooperation with one of the media agencies that sells poster spaces, and so through that cooperation we got a poster coverage that was just unreal, and people came to ask us and they were like, are you crazy spending that amount of money for this like small film? And we're like, well, we do the best for every film, and so you can get creative, and I think that's the key, just like finding the right partners for your film.
Let's have a look at Eltern. You brought us a trailer because this is a really completely different world, and we would like to spend the last 10 minutes we have before we head for lunch down at the Wiederbar with Eltern. Let's have a look at it. Do you want to stay here?
No, let's watch it.
Actually, I like to watch your faces. So interesting
to
see your reaction to the trailer.
Exactly. That's a good idea.
That's true, you're right.
It's not dark.
Weißt du, dass wir alle wahnsinnig neidisch sind. So ein toller Mann. Papa! Wird das jetzt nicht eine wahnsinnige Umstellung für euch, wenn ihr wieder arbeiten geht?
Entschuldigt die Verspätung, es ging leider nicht anders.
Zu mir spricht da gar nichts an deiner Fassung. Da kann man nicht einfach alles raushauen, um es danach mit ein bisschen Küchenpsychologie-Scheiß dann aufzugießen.
Bin gleich wieder da, okay?
Sag mal, Salz ist alle. Hast du Salz gekocht?
Nein, ich war bei meiner Arbeit.
Ist ja gut, ich gewöhne mich dran, okay?
Ja?
Papa, ich kann nicht einschlafen.
Jetzt bitte auf mit zu diskutieren. Zieh dir bitte die Stiefel an. Hör mal, wir müssen mit dieser Welt zum Arzt, okay?
Nein, ich will meine Stunde.
Keine Diskussion! Und ich will mich wieder melden. Ich denke, morgen geht's mir besser. Alles klar. Wiederhören. Aber du hast nur den einen! Emma, kannst du bitte aufhören?
Ja.
Emma, hörst du bitte auf und setz dich hier zu mir?
Familie und konzentriertes Arbeiten, das passt damit nicht zusammen.
Sei doch froh. Du hast doch zwei tolle Mädchen. Ich habe irgendwie immer den richtigen Moment verpasst.
Geh da runter, Emma!
Wo ist Christine?
Mann, ich hab mir Sorgen gemacht. Du brauchst jetzt hier nicht die beleidigte Leberwurst spielen.
Ich schaff's einfach nicht. Auf der Probebühne ist ein Sofa, da zieh ich jetzt hin. Solange bis ich mit dem Stück klarkomme.
Das hier ist nicht einfach nur ein verdammter Karriere-Ego-Trip. Das ist auch harte Arbeit, mit der ich übrigens das Geld für die Familie verdiene.
Das ist auch Arbeit mit den Kindern, ja?
Du klingst wie eine frustrierte Ehefrau aus den 50ern, echt.
Aber da bist du der passende Mann dazu.
Wo ist Papa? Übrigens, ich habe in der Klinik angerufen und denen Bescheid gegeben, dass ich morgen auch noch krank bin.
Toll. Ist jetzt eine Medaille oder was?
Weißt du noch, was du gesagt hast, als ich mit Käthe schwanger war? Wir kriegen das schon hin. Das hast du gesagt.
Ja, aber das heißt doch nicht, dass ich jetzt den Rest des Lebens die Kinder alleine großziehe.
Meine Mutter sagte so, das ist ein Terrorregime. Also dachte ich mir, es wäre auf keinen Fall verkehrt, wenn ich den Macher dieser Leute eine Kugel feuert.
Alle!
Alles, was ich will, ist nur die Regierung stürzen. Ich sag alles, was ich will.
So, Dario, what did you see in their faces as far as you saw their faces?
Market research.
Well, I saw different reactions. I think you liked the trailer, I hope. Yeah?
Yeah, I like the trailer.
Yeah.
I like small films that are about families. So I think it's really interesting why you chose that film, because the other films you talked about were so big and really like international productions. And I guess it's harder for you to earn a lot of money with this film in the cinemas in Germany, right?
We'll see. It's different, but here's the same thing. It's a movie that we like. We like the topic. We are based in Germany, and we think there is an audience for this movie, and it's a topic that belongs to our generation. So that's why I was double interested in your reaction. Who would go and watch the movie after this? Okay. Who would not? We're focusing on the female part of the audience.
I was surprised of the trailer because I heard of the movie and I knew that Robert Thalheim did the direction, and I heard Elton and I heard Robert Thalheim, and I really admire this guy, and I had to watch the film anyway, but I thought it's a drama. I thought it's a very serious film, and I really liked the trailer what you did. I think that's a good way, why I love comedies, to get an audience. You have a serious
topic,
thing, yeah, and present it in a trailer like a comedy, and so I like this.
We should talk again after you've seen the film. No, it's really, there was actually a big discussion internally, a big debate whether it's a comedy or a drama. And it has both elements, and it's a question of what you pick out for the trailer, and we decided more on comedy. And this is really how I guess we felt as well when we saw the film the first time. We were just really very lighthearted and came out with a very good mood, so we thought this is the message that we want to send to the audience.
I think there is still one screening on Saturday of Elton, just in case.
You bought this film or the distribution rights because of the script, which is completely different. I mean, the film wasn't done and you just had a look at it and then decided to participate.
Yeah. There's always different stages also with international films when you can board a project, and you can follow them from a very early stage. And in Germany, obviously for subsidy purposes, the production company has to have a distribution company attached in order to get the subsidies. So in Germany, the way we acquire German-speaking films or German productions is very different from the international ones, because we're in touch with the producers, the directors, without a world sales at a festival. So it's just a very close connection to the people that are actually creating the film, which is a nice way as well of bringing yourself, or the distribution side or aspect of the film to the production company at a stage where you can actually still influence the project. And sometimes the producers actually like it as well to have the more the market perspective, when the script maybe isn't done yet. And yeah.
How did you participate? I mean, what kind of ideas did you bring in, or maybe wishes or whatever you tried?
Now we would need Christoph and Mark here on stage, because our two partners are focusing on production. But from what they told us, they were still working at the script. The script was very well developed, but it was not on its final stage. We were involved in the casting of the two leading actors. I think that something else.
I think that was the main thing. The casting as well. It was supposed to be Milan Peschel at first, and then it changed to Charlie Hübner, and we're very happy with the outcome.
Yeah, because Milan couldn't do it, so we were very, very happy to find Charlie.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is the balance between you as a production company and you as a distribution company? Like, what kind of projects would you step into as a co-producer, or do you develop your own stories and then you just distribute it? So how does it work? Because you told us it's like 6 to 8 movies a year you distribute. So how does it look in the production section?
Yeah, 6 to 8 movies, and I'd say 1 or 2 of them our own productions. Actually, we're entering into a project on every possible step. Like we have some projects that we're developing ourselves from the very, very first step on, and on the other hand, we are buying movies that are finished, such as Liberace. So actually, it's on every possible moment that we're entering a project.
I mean, we're 4 people. We're a small group in a sense, so we're lucky to don't have these like fixed structures of saying we have to make 2 or 3 films on the production side a year. We have several projects in development. We've just finished a German film, children's film, or family entertainment. I'd say Bibi und Tina. And yeah, so at every stage, and we try on the distribution side to sort of have a good mix of own productions and also just balancing that out with acquisitions. But yeah, there's no fixed structure, luckily.
Yeah, do you see yourself mainly as a production company or as a Verleiher?
Distribution.
Yeah, distribution. And is there a conflict somehow?
No, we see ourselves as a movie company, and that's why both parts belong to a movie company from our understanding, because we want to make sure that we were able to produce movies, but also that we are able to distribute our own movies the best way we can, and also go into acquisitions to have some other movies in our portfolio that we really like and that we would like to at least bring to our home territories, Germany and Switzerland.
Talking about this, maybe a last question, and then we go for lunch, or the stomachs are starting to make noises. You just opened an office here in Zurich, or in Switzerland. She's here.
Stefanie Candinas.
Welcome. Why? I mean, you're based in Berlin, you're Swiss guys. Why do you need an office here in Zurich?
Well, on a personal level, we feel very connected, obviously, to Switzerland still. We have our families here. All of us, we went to school here. We all know each other from Zurich, sort of growing up together, going to school together. And so we have a very strong connection to Switzerland. And we felt that it would be sort of nice to have the possibility of not only showing our films to the German audience, but to also bring it to Switzerland. And obviously since it's also a German-speaking market, or largely a German-speaking market, there's a lot of synergies that we can take advantage of. Steffi is in Berlin quite a lot.
Yeah, and to be honest, especially on an international level, of course, you do have another power if you have a big territory such as Germany that you're working for, and we try to use this for Switzerland as well. For example, if it comes to interviews, normally it's quite hard, I guess, for Swiss journalists also to participate in these media days if a big Hollywood star comes to Berlin, and yeah, we want to make sure that this changes, at least for our films, because we're Swiss and our heart still goes for Switzerland, of course.
So we have 2 more questions, I would say. Mauro? No. Chakun?
What about Austria? Is that on the map, or?
Not only if it comes to skiing and competition there. Yes, it is on the map. We're working with Austrian companies, and we're sub-licensing our movies to Austria.
And Mauro, last one? Or? Oh, okay. Sorry, I did not see.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, me again, but I have a very important question. And in film school, we talked about in the Swiss cinemas have a first ein Vogelfilm, a short movie before the main feature, and it's like it's not the case anymore, or let's say it's not going to happen in future anymore. in my opinion, a short film, like, of course, they're not always as good as a Pixar short, but it's making the main feature even bigger for the audience. And for example, Salty Times, Before the Artist, I enjoyed it a lot, and I think the audience too. Do you think the audience is not interested in something else when they pay for their ticket? Or are you going to distribute shorts before a main or not?
I think we'd love to do that. And I think also that the audience would like to see more short films. The problem, to be honest, is the movie theater, because they're selling their time to advertisement, also to distributors. Movie theaters start to get money so that they are showing our trailers, a thing that didn't happen in the past. So I think we have to talk to the managers of the movie theaters and not to the distributors. I'd personally love to do that.
And it's also for the time slots, you know, if they want to have like a 2, 4, 6, 8 screening or whatever, you know, then it doesn't fit in, you know.
But
that's
why is
then
that
they only...
changing? What's the matter about that? Because 5 minutes worked in the past sometimes.
Films get longer, I would say.
Yeah, and I think they of course have to try to become more efficient and maybe also facing the fact of decreasing admission numbers. So they have to make sure to increase the revenues by running their theaters more efficient, I think.
Maybe just one question. Long-term vision of DCM? Are you looking into new markets, maybe Latin America, Asia? And also, are you thinking in picking up TV series or mini-series or something like that? Or even on the production side, get involved on that side?
I think the international aspect, of course, on the production side, most definitely. We're developing a project at the moment that's set between Italy and Northern Africa. And so on the production side, definitely. And on the distribution side, it hasn't been our strategy to sort of conglomerate different territories. So this is not our immediate focus, I'd say. Switzerland was a sort of logical step for us. And yeah, from the type of content, TV miniseries are definitely a very interesting market at the moment, especially for us now having sort of a HBO film as a theatrical film. I think there's going to be a lot of changes in this market, and from a production side, it's very efficient, sort of creating a sort of like 7-hour movie in a sense that you can distribute in different parts. So on both the content side and sort of business side as well, it's definitely interesting for us, yeah.
Thank you so much. It's 10 to 2, time for lunch at the Wiederbar. Thank you, Dario Suter.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Brandeis.